The word sovereignty can have several nuanced meanings, which I would like to briefly discuss in the hope that it will help you to understand my perspective on free will and the God-world relationship. Here in the UK, we live under the sovereignty of the monarchy. This means that the monarch, presently Queen Elizabeth II, has certain powers and authority in our country and in all the countries over which she is head of state. We have a constitution, and although most of the power in the UK rests with our elected members of parliament, it's still the Queen who, at least in principle, has the power to appoint and dismiss ministers, regulate the civil service, issue passports, and direct the actions of the military, for instance. So we can see that the role of the sovereign in the UK is to make important decisions that directly affect the lives of his or her subjects. But while the sovereign can make decisions that affect the bigger picture of our country on the world stage, aside from intervention in specific circumstances, the sovereign is not in control of the details of our lives. To understand the sovereignty of God, on the other hand, we need to understand some things about his nature that are different to that of an earthly monarch. The Queen is a being with physical and mental boundaries, whereas God is boundless. The Queen has limited powers that are God-given, whereas God has unlimited power by his very nature. The Queen exists in space and time, whereas God is beyond these limitations. The Queen sits on a throne, whereas God is everywhere due to his omnipresence. In emphasising these points, I aim to highlight that the sovereignty of God is distinct from that of an earthly sovereign, so it is not possible to draw an accurate correlation between the two. God is in control of the details of our lives, whereas the Queen is not. God is the creator, sustainer, and animator of everything that is under his dominion, whereas an earthly monarch possesses none of these qualities. In my opinion, God's sovereignty means that ultimately we do not have free will, whereas a reigning human monarch leaves us with certain freedoms. I find it unhelpful when people draw an analogy between the sovereignty of God and an earthly sovereign, because the attributes and characteristics of these two types of sovereign are completely different. This is something that it's important to keep in mind when considering my worldview and my belief that God's sovereignty necessarily means that we do not have free will. In this video series so far, we have discussed some of the attributes and characteristics that are definitional of God. In the next few videos in the series, we will move on to look at the way that God relates to the human mind. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. This video series accompanies my new book titled God's Grand Game, which is available now from all major retailers. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of future videos.